Interesting Board of Estimates meeting this morning. Jack is standing with me as he has for quite a few issues, and one of the things that we wanted to let you all know is that we're looking at two things in the future. One of them is around Thanksgiving. Now, we haven't even discussed this with all of my departments yet, but we're looking at an amnesty day for parking tickets. City needs the money. Okay, just letting you all know. Well, yours too. Yours too. Yeah. So
that's an ethics violation. They don't apply to you.
So we're looking at an amnesty day. We'll look at it thoroughly. We're having discussions with the parking authority and transportation and our own departments in terms of how we'll handle this. We've had them in the past. I don't think we've had one in
a while.
In quite some time. I'll have to go back and look at when's the last time we actually had an amnesty day.
Does that mean you would pay what, the reduced rate?
Yes.
Or just clear them all off?
Oh, no, clear them all off. No.
Amnesty means, like forgiving, right?
We might forgive the fines, I'm not sure. Okay. So I just want everybody to know that we're looking at that, and hopefully by Thanksgiving we'll be able to provide that.
But it wouldn't mean you're forgiven.
It will not mean that you are totally forgiven. So pull them out, look at their costs. I think the IRS calls it offering compromise. Offering a nice compromise, because we know that those fines can go far above the initial ticket. And so we're looking at all of that. So we'll get back to you on that. And the other thing that I thought you might be interested that we're looking at is the whole prescription plan. Especially for our retirees. So we're really taking a look at that, and we'll be able to get back to you shortly on what we're doing.
Are you concerned at all about the prescription plan? Just today in the Board of Estimates hearing, we had violations against the MBE.
We'll take those.
Oh, yeah.
Afterwards? Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit about that and why I insisted that they come into compliance, because our MBE laws are there for a reason. We want folks to be in compliance, and the reason I spoke up about that, because we could have passed it and not had a real conversation about it, is because I want folks to understand that MBE, WBE, we keep asking people to be compliant, we keep asking folks to be inclusionary, we keep asking folks to be diverse, and it's really about being normal. The fact that we got to continue to ask folks to be inclusive and diverse is not normal. We should be reflecting the society in which we live, and we should be inclusive and diverse. It should just be a part of our DNA. And so that's why we did what we did today. But more importantly, let me just talk about some of the things that we're going to talk about today. Did you want to add anything?
No.
Okay. So today I wanted to talk about prostate cancer and sickle cell anemia awareness month. These are two major diseases. These diseases affect so many people in our country. And so tonight the dome will be blue and burgundy. We have burgundy in our dome colors? Okay, all right. As symbols of our solidarity and increased awareness and support for the research. We're joined today by survivors and health advocates representing Maryland Sickle Cell Disease Association and Omega Psi Phi Fraternity, who have championed raising awareness throughout Baltimore, particularly among vulnerable populations. Jack, you just mentioned earlier when you were having a conversation with our representatives from sickle cell about two individuals that you're very aware of that suffer from this disease. I thought you might want to share that.
Yeah. There was a childhood friend of mine. They told her because of her sickle cell, she wouldn't live to get a certain age, and she lived to be, I think it was 47 or 48 years old. And then a friend of mine just texted me early today and said she was having a crisis, and she's in the hospital right now with sickle cell. And that's why I support sickle cell, Cancer Society, all that stuff, because it can hit anybody, family, and anybody.
Thank you. Prostate cancer is really the second most common cancer in the United States for men, and Baltimore City continues to experience a higher burden of disease than both the rest of the Maryland and the overall U.S. population. For reasons still unknown, African American men are at an increased risk for prostate cancer So according to the Center for Disease Control, African American men have about a 19% chance, that's 1 in 5, of receiving prostate cancer diagnosis. And so our message really is around how do we, one, begin to take care of ourselves better, and we're looking at how do we invest more in research. We have some of the greatest hospitals and research institutions right here in Baltimore, and in fact, I think Johns Hopkins and University of Maryland noted among the great hospitals in this nation. So we've been joined by Patricia Boasting, and she's going to give a few remarks about sickle cell disease, and then we'll hear from Dwayne White to give remarks on prostate cancer, and Leroy Hughes will also give remarks on sickle cell disease. So thank you all. Who goes first?
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. My name is Patricia Boating. I'm 25 years old, and I'm living with sickle cell anemia. I want to take a moment first to say thank you so much to Mayor Pugh and to all of the esteemed guests this morning, as well as the folks over at the Maryland Sickle Cell Disease Association and the National Chapter for giving me the chance to address all of you today. I am a first-generation immigrant from Ghana. My family moved to the States when I was 4 years old, and that's actually when I received a formal diagnosis of sickle cell disease. At that time, doctors instructed my mother to prepare for the possibility that I would not see my 9th birthday. And my mother, being the great woman that she was, did not take that sitting down. And so began the ongoing journey of doctor's appointments and hospitalizations and trying various treatments to try and address this disease. What I think many folks don't know is that it impacts patients and their families on a spectrum, and the disease can actually evolve and change with age and with time. And so there are some days where I can barely get out of bed, where I can't stand, and be self-reliant and independent, and I'm in the hospital for several weeks at a time. But then there's other times when I think walking down the street, strangers would not assume that there's something medically wrong with me. And so that brings me to my next point, that this disease can sometimes be very invisible and isolating, and that's why it's critical for patients and their families to have an intimate relationship both with their medical team and with different advocacy bodies such as the Maryland Sickle Cell Disease Association. The services that they provide have been immensely helpful and beneficial to me. Everything from support groups to address the psychosocial impacts of the disorder, to awareness, participating in walks, and just creating sometimes creating the attention and the awareness for the condition that sometimes it doesn't always get. And so I'm just really thankful for my relationship with them. When I walk into, I see a doctor at University of Maryland, and when I walk into the cancer center there for treatment, they know my name, they know my face. Whenever I walk into the support group, if I've had a particularly bad week, they know my name, they know my face, and that is so invaluable to the process. You don't feel like that you're going through this alone, and just being supported through every step of it is really important, and I'm really thankful for that. So thanks so much for listening to me this morning, and have a good day.
Can you please spell your last name?
Yes, it's Boateng.
Teng?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then Leroy Hughes.
Yes. Good morning. My name is Leroy Hughes, Vice President with the Sickle Cell Disease Association of America. It's so appropriate for this phenomenal young lady to share her story about sickle cell disease. It is an invisible disease, and it is very impactful. We know that right now over 100,000 people are affected by sickle cell disease. We know that 2.5 million people actually carry the trait. And so the Sickle Cell Disease Association of America leads efforts, a nationwide effort, along with our 45 member organizations and advocates, stakeholders across the country, to ensure that we promote education, awareness, support research, so that we can finally find a cure to this disease. So we're very thankful to Mayor Pugh for her support. We look forward to this partnership. We're proud of the fact that our national office is based here in Baltimore, and so we're going to be a major leader in terms of helping to improve the lives of people here in the city of Baltimore who are affected by this disease. We're going to continue to work with folks on the Hill, as well as all of our colleagues and member organizations across the country to ensure that we eventually find a cure. We're going to be relentless in our efforts, and part of our efforts is to ensure that our office engages in best practices in terms of program management, advocacy, supporting pharmaceutical companies that are dedicated to trying to find a cure to deal with this particular disease. There have been some developments in terms of gene therapy, in terms of bone marrow transplant, in terms of new drugs like hydroxyurea that's actually helping. Actually, hydroxyurea has been around for several years, but information about that drug has not been widespread. We're sharing that information to improve the lives of people who actually have this disease. So again, we're thankful to the city. We look forward to this partnership, and we look forward to further engaging with your administration to make sure that we're able to really find a cure and support people affected by this disease. Thank you for having us.
Thank you, thank you. And now we'll hear from Dwayne White to give some remarks as it relates to prostate cancer and awareness in their survivorship.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
My name's Dwayne White, and Brothers of the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity partnered with Chesapeake Urology in order to put on our Staying Alive Health Festival that we hold in June. And at that festival, that's where we do testing for prostate cancer. Being a prostate cancer survivor, what I would tell all the men, at some point, especially African American men, you need to get tested. Do not be afraid of the digital exam, because the digital exam is not the only exam anymore. And I would also say that after I got diagnosed and I was told that I had cancer, you get over the initial fear of, now I have a cancer. One of the motivations for me in order to get cured was the fact that at the time my daughter was 8 years old, and I had the prostatectomy and had the prostate removed for a couple of reasons. One, my daughter was 8 years old, and I'd like to see her graduate from the university of someplace. I'd also like to walk her down the aisle, and I also like to see my grandchild. So that was the motivation for me in order to get the surgery, in order to get the cure as far as prostate cancer is concerned. The other thing that I would also recommend to all men is that when you get diagnosed, or if you happen to get the disease, we're in the 21st century now. There's plenty of therapies, there are plenty of cures, there are plenty of places to go in order to get treatment and also to get viable advice on how to move forward in your life. There are more than enough support groups out there to help you along. Do you have any questions for me? Yes, ma'am.
So at the end of President Obama's term in office, he came up with this initiative called My Brother's Keeper, and they partnered with Men's Health to encourage men to go for prostate checks, to go to their doctor, to especially young men of color. Do you know, I don't know if you know, but do you know of any benefits that initiative has taken? Do you know of any other, because I didn't hear anything about it after that. It kind of dropped off the face. I'm not sure if it's still around or still visible.
Well, yes. A matter of fact, that the grand bosses of the Omega Psi Phi fraternity was intimately involved with that initiative with President Obama. And I know as a fraternity, we have made a nationwide effort in order to try to bring more information and set up sites for testing as it relates to prostate cancer.
Is anyone else addressing? Okay. Any questions for anybody else in this group?
Mr. White, the mayor said that African American men have a higher rate of prostate cancer. Why is that?
We don't know, because I asked the question myself. There was a point in time when I don't eat meat. I'm working on being a vegetarian. Matter of fact, I was an aerobics instructor at one time, so I was doing the exercising. I thought I was in good health. It just happened.
I'm sorry, can you spell your name?
Dwayne White, D-W-A-Y-N-E, W-H-I-T-E.
Thank you for continuing to inform and keep people aware of this disease and what they can do to help cure themselves.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. And then, of course, on sickle cell awareness, the same, we just want to continue to promote sickle cell awareness and what people can do in order to be able to live more productive lives, and thank you for sharing your story with us as well.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So I think last week I shared with you all our Team Biz Challenge winners, and there was one young lady who was unable to be here. Come on up. And so Jane, I thought, and all the ladies, I thought, well, we can do this for the men too, right?
Yes.
Okay. I thought you all might want one of these. Put your hands out there. That's her henna tattoo. That's her business. Really? And what she said was she didn't know what those tattoos are going to look like when you get older, but these actually don't stay. Yeah, temporary. But anyway, she was one of our, this is Lachey. Lachey has her own business. What did you make doing African American Heritage Festival? About $300?
Yes.
Yeah, about $300. But she also got a $5,000 investment in her business doing Team Biz Challenge. She's very nervous. Am I correct?
No.
Oh, she's not. Look, I know she wasn't when she made her presentations because she went all out for that $5,000, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you want to share some words with her?
Yes. Good morning. My name is Lachey. And
Love
I'm
that correction.
I'm the CEO of Shay's Mini Artistry. So for the ones who don't know what henna is, it's basically a plant that came from India, and it was mixed with natural ingredients to create henna paste that you could put on your skin, and it stays for 1 to 2 weeks. The reason I started doing henna is because when I was 10 years old, I always wanted the henna tattoo, and I had never got one. So I came up with a solution. I could do it myself. So I started doing henna for my teachers, my classmates, everyone, and I loved it.
And you're making money doing it.
Yes,
She charges, what, $15?
$15.
Okay. And she, when she was doing her projections for her business, she said, I'm going to do, was it 4 an hour? She was going to do it 4 hours a day. She was going to do it 5 days a week, and then she was going to do it 5 hours on Saturday. I said, you'll do it 2 hours a day. You'll do it maybe 4 days a week, 3 to 4 days a week, and you can do Saturdays, right?
Yes.
And still make money.
Yes.
Right. So we're just proud of her, and I thought I'd share her with you all.
Thank you. Lechaguy. Well, my last name is Guy.
How old are you?
14.
Where are you at school?
Western.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
I am always grateful to Bloomberg Philanthropies, as I mentioned to you all early on, that after meeting Michael Bloomberg, I think it was back in June of last year or something like that, we had a long 1-hour conversation about how to help cities move forward. And Michael has dedicated himself to helping mayors around the nation and around the world, actually, because I participated in a Harvard Bloomberg program which included 30 mayors from around the United States and 10 mayors from around the world. And so what Michael does is he funds these teams, these innovation teams that come into your city, work with you, become a part of your administration, and are focused on particular areas that the mayor deems are very important. So I have with me Dan Himowitz, who will lead the charge on behalf of the Bloomberg Philanthropies team. We call them the I-Team, the innovation team, and he will introduce the rest of his team.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So first of all, yeah, we're just getting started. Today we're a team of 3, soon to be 4. I'll introduce my two colleagues. Tamika Govan is our program manager. Justin Elsas, our data scientist. Madam Mayor has asked us initially to work on the issue of police recruitment and hiring. You'll have seen that there's been big progress this year. 144 hired by the police department compared to 111 last year. That said, still a long way to go, which is why we're working on it. So, Madam Mayor, really looking forward to working under your leadership with the police department, with community stakeholders, with experts around the country, and really excited for the progress that we'll make together.
Well, we're grateful. One of the things that they've already noted is that our system, way outdated. And so we're also looking at outsourcing background checks because it takes too long, too many police officers engaged. And so streamlining that process first is really important. So thank you and welcome aboard. Any questions for the I-team?
Is that all they're gonna work on, is police?
Oh, no, they focus on areas. So my next area is looking at housing and homelessness. How do we, you know that we have what we call core money to knock down houses that are boarded up in the city. And with our city solicitor, I've been talking about these houses that are in the middle of rows of boarded up houses that are boarded up as well, but they belong to other people. And I just think, this is my personal opinion, that any house that's been sitting there for 10 years and destroying neighborhoods for this long period of time, that we ought to be able to find a way. And so they'll be looking at that along with our city solicitor of how we just move forward. I just think we've taken too long, and we've got an opportunity to knock down blocks at a time. And so we want to be able to do that.
Have you
And-
all worked in other cities?
So no, we're hired to work with Mayor Pugh, for City Hall here. Yeah.
So there are Bloomberg teams in all of the cities that I talked about, and what they do is they go through a training in New York. I think you and your program director have already gone through that, and there's almost like a formula of focus and how you focus and interact and engage with city government.
Yeah, exactly. So it's we're city employees, but we are part of this wider network of innovation teams from around the country, which is part of, I think, the really exciting, powerful thing about this as well.
I think all of us did stories last week about how Baltimore has more homicides this year than in New York City, a city about, more than 10 times larger than Baltimore. From your perspective, why is that happening?
Why don't you ask me that? Do you have a perspective on that, Dan?
Madam Mayor, I'll let you handle that one.
I thought he would do that. Anything else?
Oh, sir, actually, can you spell your last name for us, please?
Sure, yeah. HYMOWITZ.
Okay. Thank you all.
Thank you.
What is your answer to that?
What is my answer to that? Well, my answer begins with, one, underinvestment in city and neighborhoods, a lack of jobs creation, a lack of focus on neighborhood redevelopment, which creates jobs and opportunity, and an underinvestment in our police department. When I think about the lack of technology, to take as long as we've taken just to hire police officers, and then when I think of the fact that we're just getting a $2 million grant to put computers in police cars. And in a hearing in Annapolis yesterday, as the police commissioner pointed out, computers in police cars have been going on since 1998. So here we are, almost 20 years later, and still we don't have them. And then I think when I look at the community engagement piece that needs to take place, which is why we're under a consent decree, because we've not engaged the community. And I can tell you, having just last week with Shantae and others doing a survey, we doing what we call a listening tour, and someone said to me, you were in my neighborhood and we didn't know about it. And I said, well, there are about 17 to 20 people who come here every other week. They're grassroots folks, people from the Muslim community, Ceasefire Group, Shantae's group, and Keys Development, young people who sit around and talk about what it is we need to be doing to engage people in the community. And so they came up with this idea of doing a listening tour. But in order to engage in the listening tour, you would have had to go through the 3 hours of training. And so he said, oh, Madam Mayor, we don't need you to go, we'll go do it, and you don't need to do that. I said, yeah, but the reason we're all together is because I believe in you and I need to be a part of this. And so I don't think anybody thought I would go through the 3-hour training. I did go through the 3-hour training, so I was well equipped to walk the streets with them, to listen to people. So this kind of engagement, and then I think our small contracts thing where we're actually focusing in on neighborhoods and communities and working with people that have not ordinarily been looked at. I often tell the story that when we cut the ribbon on center stage, and someone said to me, walked up to me and said, "Oh, we're so excited. You're our new mayor. This is our new city. Aren't you excited? Look out there. This is the new Baltimore." And 90% of the people I'm looking at were white. And I said, So then he walked over to me and he said, "I just wanted to introduce myself." I said, "Oh, well, I'm Mayor Pugh." He says, "Well, I won't call his name, so I just wanted to let you know that I was with Rouse Company. We helped to rebuild Sandtown." And he said, "But tell me, what happened?" Now I wasn't there, Jane. And so, so I said, "Well, did we engage anybody in the African American community? Did they help build one house? Did you increase the opportunities for folks to engage in business in that community?" And I think that oftentimes we think we can fix people, fix neighborhoods, fix communities, and everything changes. But if you're not engaging the people in those neighborhoods, in those communities, you've heard me say over and over again, that government does two things. It provides services and opportunity. And oftentimes, those in our community, in the African American community and other communities, are not engaged in the process of opportunity. I did it at the state level. I required the state to diversify its pension portfolio. Why? Because the people paying into that pension portfolio were people of color and every race you could possibly think of. So why should we not have the opportunity to participate in the investment?
So I'm going to turn that question on you then. If then that you're saying that we should be more inclusive and we should be reaching out to these minority communities, if the United Healthcare representative was saying that there were violations that these contracts had against the MBE and WBE, then why did you proceed to agree to those?
Because it was an emergency, and as I said before, the lack of transparency in city government has not existed. And as I said to them, 10 years of getting ready to do this, to me, makes no sense. But I'm not going to let folks not have health care. All of the information you heard at the board was not correct. And what I've said is that they will come into compliance, so they will not bid on another contract for the city. I'm very serious about this. When we talk about MBE, WBE, and I've said this time and time again, this is normal. We're acting like this is something special. It's not special. It's normal. It's normal to be inclusive. It's normal to be diverse. And so it should be done without a thought. And every time I come to the board of our pre-board meetings or our board of estimates, I say the same thing. We must act like this is a normal thing to do. Not that we have to. And if we were really serious about this, and I've said this time and time again, those who engage in the process of thinking that we're not going to be inclusive and diverse should just pack their bags and leave, because I don't have time to keep asking folks to do the same thing.
And when you talk about the underinvestment in neighborhoods, is there something that we're going to start doing to invest in the kids because they are the next
Absolutely, absolutely. And you'll see it, which is one of the reasons you see me constantly bringing young people in front of you, because 8,800 young people going to work this summer was more than it's ever been to work before. But we're also creating positions year round for young people. If you were to go over into, I can't think of the name of the alternative school, off of Saratoga Street, making Baltimore City Community College free is a commitment to our young people. Starting next year when they graduate from high school, creating a tracking system where we follow our children from the time they enter school till they exit, requiring that young people begin to have a work plan by the time that they're in 11th grade, so that when we stand up, you'll see for the first time in March of this year that they will have their own jobs fair for the young people who are leaving school, who want to go to work. We want to know whether you're going to Baltimore City Community College or college in general. Yesterday, I met with all of the presidents of the colleges and universities here in Baltimore. I do that on a regular basis because I need to know, what are you offering each child in Baltimore? Even when I think about legislatively, when I was a senator, I gave away $250,000 in scholarships every year. If every senator in our city is doing that, that means that that's $1 million being given away every year. We need to track these things. We need to make sure, when we think about playgrounds and things that we're expanding And, you know, the closing of Shake and Bake because it was run down. 70% of the lanes don't work, no roller skates for the children, the bowling alleys. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. But there is data that tells you when you have those kind of centers in your communities that it helps to increase the IQ of the young people. So we're going to fix it. I'm putting money in the budget for this upcoming session for additional dollars to do that. So, I mean, there are a lot of things to invest in. When you think about the homeless population in our city, in about 2 years, you'll see another facility going up because I've said shelters are not what the city needs right now. What we need is homes for the homeless, and that's what we're focused on.
What are a couple of those year-round positions that those kids are going to have?
Oh, they'll be working in every agency, you know, every department. We're working with businesses as well in the city. You know, I think I got a call from one of the companies, I can't think of the name of the company, who told me a story about a young man who was working for him during the summer. And he said he missed his bus to get to work. And because he ran to 2 miles to work, he said, we're keeping him. And he got there on time. These young people want to work, and they want to be lifted beyond what they believe. When I was walking down the hall of the alternative school, a young man, Excel Academy, the young man yells out, "Thank you, Madam Mayor, for free Baltimore City Community College." You know, even when we think about Squeegee Corps, which is not where I want it to be, but it will get there. You know, one of the young men ran up to me, and I was talking to a class. He said, excuse me, I need to see the mayor. I'm one of her employees. Well, it's not one of my employees. He works with Squeegee Corps. But they're excited, you know, walking through the public housing, I think it was last week or so, and 4 young men walk up to me and say, hey, that Squeegee Corps thing, how do we get involved? But that's the kind of enthusiasm that people don't see that's out there. When I was doing the listening tour this week, last Friday, I can't tell you how many people walked up to me. Everybody wants the same thing. They want a decent job. They want a place to work. And with the drug addiction that's in our communities, we got to get people clean, but we also got to give them help, and we got to help them work.
Speaking of economic opportunity,
Sure.
Have you had any conversations at all with anyone from Amazon?
I've not talked to Amazon directly. There is a phone call being set up for me. I have had conversations with the team that we're putting together to work on the Amazon proposal. I was sitting at the University of Maryland Medical Systems board meeting this morning, and a young man sitting next to me does work directly with Amazon, and so I'm putting him on the team as well.
Do you have when you talk to the team that you're putting together to come up with a package, am I correct? Is there a limit on what the city of Baltimore will offer in terms of tax benefit, tax incentive, tax break, et cetera, which is obviously part of what their RFP for this? Is there a limit?
Well, I don't know that we've placed a limit, but I can tell you that you'll hear about a big investment in the Port Covington area, and I'm waiting for that phone call in an effort to assist us with the Amazon proposal.
The investment from private investment?
Going back to your
So what is it? Do you want to say any more about that?
No, I'll tell you later.
Going back to your squeegee
Core.
there's been some residents in Northwest who have complained and called in the police, and there's been several police reports filed over the past year or so about these young men standing on corners and creating disturbances of traffic and other types of things going on that she didn't want to go into further detail about, but she was upset by them. These squeegee, some of these squeegee
Well,
guys
some of them are squeegee men.
Men,
Let's be clear, because they're all, right, well, some of them are men.
Right, so I guess her big concern was that it was causing traffic and it was kind of congesting the neighborhood and just a lot of trash being left behind. A lot of these guys are saying, well, the mayor approves of us, so we're not.
No, that's not true. That is so not true.
Okay.
That is not true. What I said, squeegee core does not require you to be on the corner. Our goal is to take them off the corner. Squeegee core engages them in pop-up car washes, not standing on the corner. That has nothing to do with the mayor. My goal was to help get them off the corner, not on the corner.
Madam Mayor, if I can switch topics to the bike share program. As
Yes.
Yesterday, that's going to be shutting down for about a month. There are other cities who have rolled out similar sized bike share programs, and they haven't had to deal with the level of damage to the bikes and theft. Why do you think that this is something that Baltimore is dealing with right now? These systems are needing to be upgraded and fixed.
Well, there are some cities that I understand that are dealing with it, but, you know, we don't want to disband the program, which is why we're suspending it for the next 30 days to make sure that we do what is necessary so that people understand this is, you know, this is not a zero-sum game. I mean, you know, this is an opportunity for the people in Baltimore to utilize this bike service, and we should be glad to have it, and we should be doing everything we can to keep it.
Madam Mayor, how many bikes have been stolen? How many bikes have been permanently lost?
I don't have a number.
Because we've asked the Department of Transportation, we've sent them a public information request. That information.
Do we have that
expired
information?
After 30 days, and we haven't gotten an answer yet.
Well, you haven't been here 30, have you been here 30 days? I don't think she's been here 30 days. You better send that today, and then maybe she hasn't been here 30 days yet. Send it again. You'll get your answer.
Are you sure?
I'm sure you will.
Do you have a cost estimate for how much the upgrades are going to cost?
Do you have a cost estimate for,
No,
I know you just got here, but do you have a cost estimate?
That once
Okay,
we're gonna shut down and do it completely now. And be back up in a month.
okay. But we'll give you that cost, though. Go ahead.
So sorry.
Go ahead, you're fine.
Can we please switch topics to the federal DOJ dropping the charges on the officers related to Freddie Gray? And
Yeah.
what you think about that and heading forward?
Well, let me just say, the only thing you can ask is that justice takes its course, and justice took its course. We do have a process with the police department as it relates to trial boards, and so we'll wait to see what happens with that process as well.
Well, we won't know, will we? I mean, the outcomes of those trial boards aren't public. Will you seek to have?
They're public.
They're not.
Yes, they are. The trial boards are public.
The boards are, but the
Yeah.
outcome is not. And will you make an exception and make those outcomes public so that?
It's certainly for consideration.
And
Madam Mayor, did the
concerned at all
Department of
that-
Justice make the right decision in not filing charges?
Look, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a judge, and I wasn't in the room. I don't have all the evidence. I didn't make that decision.
Are you concerned at all that DOJ dropping charges and you working, and the city working with them directly on the consent decree currently? Are you worried that the DOJ could drop the consent decree or could not handle it to their best ability?
This is a federal court-ordered event as it relates to the consent decree. It's already been signed. We're done there.
And
Our
Jeff
process
Sessions said
now.
that morale, the consent decree's caused.
Well,
morale
Jeff
to-
Sessions says a lot of things, and we love the fact that he's vocal and he has an opportunity to speak. He's in a role which allows him to do that, but we have a responsibility as the mayor of the city to make sure that the consent decree moves forward. We're just now almost at the end of the road as it relates to the monitor. The federal judge has already signed it.
Madam Mayor, our reporter yesterday in Annapolis was talking to a lot of people who said, during the meeting they still weren't getting a sense of why the city was having the problems it was having and what the solutions to the problems are.
I didn't get that. I don't know who your reporter was or why they would even say that, because that's not the response that I got back. The response that I got back was that they learned a lot. They were unaware. Even the GBC has said to me, Kurt Schmoke, who's the president of the Public Safety Committee, who sat here yesterday morning, said, everybody has not read the update. Everybody doesn't know all the things that we're doing. And, other than stand on the top of City Hall and yell it out every single day, I just got too many things to do, but I am focused on reducing violence in our city. And we've laid out a comprehensive plan. It's holistic. And so I think people will say all kinds of things. I'm grateful for the opportunity to have presented on yesterday, because I think that they were more than well informed in terms of what we are doing. Baltimore City has a lot of things going on. We're focused right now on reducing violence, grabbing Amazon, creating economic opportunity, knocking down boarded houses, and creating homes for the homeless. One more.
There are a lot of people who disagree with the DOJ's decision. What do you have to say to the people of Baltimore?
Let me just say, everybody's entitled to their opinion. I think we all have our opinions in terms of what the DOJ's recommendation has been. But, I represent all of the citizens of Baltimore, and the DOJ has its responsibility and we have ours. Thank you, everybody. Have a great one.